don't just say Black Friday sale, because what is Black Friday sale these days? It's all about alleviating the guessing game from the customer. If they know exactly how they're getting the discount, what they're getting the discount on, and when the discount's ending, they're more likely to purchase.
The coolest thing we can talk about, because of the timing of things, is, you've got a lot of CRO folks. There's a lot of really interesting tactical work that you do at your agency, and we've got Black Friday, Cyber Monday coming up. And the thing that, I continue to hear time in and time out, and each day it's just like the volume gets louder, is what else could I be doing? What else could I be doing to make sure that my site is ready, that I'm maximizing not only revenue but also profit during Black Friday, Cyber Monday? And I want to start there. So as I'm sure you've already got your clients prepped, but I'm curious to know, what's the checklist? Like, when clients come to you and say that, or even new prospects, what do you walk them through? Yeah,
absolutely. It's obviously a hot topic right now, coming into Q4 and coming into those really, I guess, important and busy times. I think to start with, the question is what you should not be doing, because one of the most important things that we do here at Conversionwise is we put a freeze on all site updates and tests within a period of a time span. So typically we'll survey our clients and we'll ask them well in advance, I'm talking like it's already happened in Q3, when you'll be running your sales, because that gives us a real good calendar and roadmap to build out based on those time periods. So what we'll typically do is, even if they say they're only opening the sale for like the kind of weekend of Black Friday, Cyber Monday, we'll pause any testing and site updates. We'll do, like we call it, like a development freeze a week before, and we won't initiate till like a couple of days after. So I think that's one really important thing, is like, don't try and be kind of reactive during those sales periods. Get everything done beforehand. Now, we're kind of still in that phase, depending on how quickly this episode goes out, but we're kind of still in that phase where you can do experimentation now to get wins for the upcoming period. But as I said, I think you need to, if you're not in that mindset next year, just plan a bit more advanced. So we always say, like, try and get as many wins in as possible before you kind of hit Q4, because Q4 is really about maximizing those sale periods and not effectively kind of doing the ongoing, what we would typically call like A/B testing. When it comes to actual things that you can do on your store that do have a contributing factor to increasing things like revenue per session and conversion rate during the Black Friday period, it's quite cliche, but I think obviously scarcity and urgency plays a huge part when it comes to those time periods. But I think now it's doing it in a, how do I put this, kind of like a non-shady way. So I'm an old school affiliate guy. I've been in the marketing space for like 15, 20 years, CRO space for 12 years, but I was in the affiliate space for a long time. And I remember the days of like these kind of flashy banners, exit pops that kind of like, don't miss your chance, like only one left in stock, bang, bang, bang. And I think the consumer is so much more used to buying online these days that they don't fall for these kind of intrusive pattern interrupt CRO updates. So for me, it's now about doing that in a sensitive way. So, don't have low stock on every single one of your products, because it's typically not believable. Yes, you can definitely test things like inventory countdowns. Yes, you can definitely have kind of sale banners and flashes on your site, but there's a way of doing it. I think one really easy way to do it is notice bar at the top of your site and communicate the sale. So where we've seen biggest uplifts is not necessarily in actually showing the sale. Of course, you've got to show the sale, but actually communicating the sale and how people benefit from that sale. What I mean by this is, whether you're doing this based on a coupon, or whether it's a site-wide sale, or whether it's a dynamic coupon, so it's auto-added discount to the cart, actually telling the consumer about that is way more important than having like a flashy banner when they hit the site saying sale now on, because it's all about the user experience for the user. Is your user comfortable and confident that they've got that discount within the cart? Whereas, if you're using coupons, for example, there's nothing wrong with it, but communicate that in your notice bar, communicate that on your product page, say input coupon to receive discount. If it's dynamically added, say discount added automatically at checkout. So communicating that to the customer is way more important. Notice bars, as I said, is a really good way to kind of communicate the actual sale with your customers. Yes, always put like a timestamp on it. So don't just say Black Friday sale, because what is Black Friday sale these days? Some brands we work with are having Black Friday sales for 2 months. It's no longer like a 2-3 day thing. Some brands are having it for 2-3 months, 2 weeks, whatever. So actually always communicate an end date, because you put a real stop point to the scarcity. So you could say, Black Friday sale ends in 2 weeks, or maybe have a timer that, counts down to that end date, instead of just having an open-ended Black Friday sale where you're not communicating to the customer. It's all about alleviating the guessing game from the customer. If they know exactly how they're getting the discount, what they're getting the discount on, and when the discount's ending, they're more likely to purchase. So I think communicating the messaging in your notice bar, also on all your PDPs, just below or above or below the call to action, and just having that real kind of strong communication and guideline of how people actually activate that sale is definitely going to be crucial. A couple other things you can do. If you're not having a site-wide sale, build out sale-specific pages, so category pages that are based on just sale items. You don't want people fishing around collections for the sale items. Like, put them in front of people. People want ease of execution, because Black Friday is all about, even more so, the intent is intensified, right? So I and you, we just want to go on a site, especially if we're a repeat customer, and see what products of that site we can get for sale. We don't want to be scrolling through product pages and collection pages to find the ones that are on sale. So always have, if you're not having a site-wide sale, have a collection page that is specific to the sale and call it out in your navigation, big sale banner. I think things like bundling can work very, very well. You almost want to focus on AOV when it comes to Black Friday, Cyber Monday. So like, the more you buy, the more you save. Now, it depends on how good your Replo developer is, or how good your developer is, to see if you've got time to implement like a site-wide buy more, save more. But we did this last year with a lot of our customers, and it worked very, very well. So at the top of your, just underneath your notice bar, having a static banner that almost gamifies, like you've probably seen in carts, right? Where you have like the add more, get free shipping, have it across site-wide, so that the more products you add to the cart, the dynamic bar across the top will start adding up, and kind of you unlock things like free shipping, extra gifts, extra discounts, and really increasing that AOV. But having actual bundle pages themselves definitely work really well as well.
Oh, I hope I had to get my notebook out, because I wanted to make sure that I didn't miss any of this, because that was.
But you get the benefit of the replay as well.
I really, no. This is fantastic. I will just say, as an aside, one of my favorite parts about this job is I get to go talk to really smart people who are doing big things in this industry and just learn from them. And I love this game, so it's like this is so much fun. There's so much really great stuff you said there. I mean, there's the essentially instituting. You can call it a code freeze, even if you're like using a visual landing page builder like Replo.
100%, don't touch it.
Yeah, so code freeze, communicating the sale effectively, making sure, I mean, there's so many like really like driving traffic to specific sale pages. This is a small aside. I'm kind of curious to hear your thoughts. Please. We in the industry know what BFCM is. And over the last few years, I've thought a lot about, do customers really think about Black Friday, Cyber Monday using that acronym? And I think maybe more and more they do now, but do you I
think it's a relative point. I think it's a very relative point. The answer is no. We haven't run tests like BFCM versus Black Friday, Cyber Monday. No. I think when it comes to the pre-education part, when it comes to the sales period, I think a lot relies on your email. So we have a sister company. Shout out to Underground Ecom. They're Europe's largest email and SMS retention basically agency, and their busiest period of the whole year, where they can't even take on customers because it's so busy, is Black Friday, Cyber Monday, because everything again is like amplified. Like, you're sending 10x emails, you're kind of really getting into it, and I think that's where, again, a lot of the piece happens on the email, because there's only so much real estate and only so much verbiage we can use on a sales page. You and I have run sales before. The second you start having loads of text and having to push products down the fold, etc., is the second you're losing the sale. Really, that's the job of the email guy or whether you're running your own email, to pre-educate your customer on the journey. So again, I think that content piece comes into the email. So like, we are having our Black Friday, Cyber Monday sale. Discount is on all products, or it's on just this collection. To get the discount, step 1, grab the coupon code. Step 2, input it on the checkout. Walking people through that process. Or, site-wide sale. no coupon needed. Your discount will be applied at checkout. Like telling people on that email, and then having them click through, and us doing the magic on the landing page, I think is crucial as well. But it's a very valid point.
Are there specific offers that work better for some types of brands versus others, like site-wide versus going, a specific collection, or is it pretty business to business?
Yeah, I think it's easy answer. It's business to business. I think it is business to business. I think from a business perspective, it's a very good way to get rid of remnant stock or stock that doesn't sell well. But the way I would do this is I wouldn't sell that stock. Let's say, for example, you're a fashion brand, apparel brand, right? And you sell 10 different SKUs of t-shirt, and 8 of your t-shirts sell amazingly. They sell really, really well. But there's 2 that you just can't shift. Maybe it's the color, it's the fit, you just can't shift them. What I would be doing, and what we do for our clients in this case, is use the sale period to get rid of that remnant stock, but do it as a value add, not as a sale item. So this is where I would be doing things like bundling. So I would be bundling like 2 of my most popular shirts with one of the unpopular ones, because the value perception to a consumer looks so much more, where you're getting a free t-shirt, for example, but really you're just getting rid of the stock that you've got sat in your warehouse that you're paying a 3PL to have on a rack. And it's a really good way of doing that. But as far as like site-wide versus product specific, I think that just comes down to who are you as a brand. We have brands who run evergreen sales. They pretty much are running sales 9 months out of 12 out of the year, versus we have brands that just run a sale on Black Friday. We also have brands that don't even run a sale on Black Friday, but they make way more revenue because you've got more eyeballs, right? People are just in buying mode. We all do it, right? I have a couple of t-shirt brands. I have a couple of brands consumable products that I love, and I will visit their site regardless of an email, regardless of a sale on Black Friday to see if they're having a sale. And if I know that I need to buy that product because it's maybe a gut health vitamin or pill or supplement, and they're not having a sale, because I trust that brand, I would probably still buy that weekend because I need it. I'm just waiting to see if they've run a sale. So I think it's case by case scenario. I think, like I say, we're working at the moment with about 70 to 80 ecom brands, and I would say most of the brands will have a site-wide sale and they'll gamify adding more to cart, so like AOVs increased. And then I would say a smaller majority will have a collection or single SKU sale, and then the minority are not running a sale at all.
Got it. We're in the most competitive time to run ads, trying to get traffic to your site. If you're running email, you're probably spending, you should be sending 3 to 5, maybe 10x more emails than you normally are. It's very competitive. This is an election year in the United States as well, so like there's so much budget just being consumed in that. Yeah. Like, how do you shift, or how significantly do you shift strategy? How aggressive do you get as you start to go late September into October, and definitely like starting to get into November?
I think that's where it comes into future planning. So we very much sit post-click. So we are very much like on site, but we obviously work with media agencies, media partners, also with the internal ecom brands, media buyers. So we always have open conversations around this. I think this is where there's money in the list. I've seen this time and time again, 12 years of doing this. I think this is where your strategy should be a little bit more strategic, looking at the year as opposed to the week, right? So like running up to Q4, it's all about, in my opinion, building that email list. So I've seen lots of people use things like lead magnets, freebies, etc., to get a cheaper cost per lead effectively, because you're not looking for a sale. So you're no longer competing with your competitors who are trying to purchase a click for a sale. You're just purchasing a click for a lead. Now, you might be losing money on those leads, but all of a sudden, when it comes to the busy period, you have a big email list that you can then be, like you say, 5-10xing on the email to then recuperate that money, and you don't almost have to compete in the market that's so congested, especially, as you say, when things like elections are going on, and we know that CPMs rise and get major competitive going into kind of the Christmas period. So I think it becomes a thing of like experience, time in the market, zooming back out and kind of planning your media across the year. I'm not going to comment on media buying as such, because I'm definitely not an expert. Sure. I know more than most, but post-click is where we sit. But this is where we, again, advise that our busiest period is probably Q1 and Q3, funnily enough. Q1 because people are looking to squeeze more revenue out of existing clicks versus scale. And Q3 because people want to get the wins in now, so that when they scale through Q4, the wins are already in place, because as I say, we almost do like an experimentation freeze over those sales periods. So we're in our busy period now. It's all about how can we get quick wins, and it's not too late. October's not too late to start. October gives you a couple of weeks to audit, a couple of weeks to run a couple of tests and hopefully get a win, because those wins, when it comes to A/B testing, can be huge. On volume, they can be the difference between a very successful Q4 and an okay one. So yeah, for us, we kind of see that period of Q1, Q3 being crucial. Q2, Q4 are very busy, but then they're nowhere near kind of the volumes that we did in Q1, Q4, 3 for sure.
Got it. The Q1 piece is really interesting to me because, I think outside of, supplements, anything health and wellness, even like health and wellness apparel, like everyone's just, it's down,
funny
right?
because every other agency we speak to tends to have a bad Q1. So I think Q1 is, again, typically with the brands we're working with when budgets happen. So, people have to justify spend to their board or to their colleagues. So they cut all agencies. So, email goes, paid media goes, scales down effectively. We've just found that for some reason, I couldn't put my finger on it, but CRO is one that's consistent within Q1. I think, again, it's because people feel more confident experimenting or updating their site when there's less traffic, because if there's, not that there is, but sometimes, hold our hands up, in every world, like there is on Replo, like there is an email, there might be a bug or something, right? And I think people are more confident to do that during their downtime and get things right, so they can have this ramp up to Q3, Q4 and get the wins in Q1 to Q2, so that you're kind of really ramping and making the most out of traffic. I think the thing that I always try and educate people on and reaffirm, I'm just as passionate about CRO as I was 12 years ago as I am now. And I think the thing I try to reaffirm to people is it's not additional clicks or additional spend. You're making more money out of the existing clicks that are happening. So I'm fortunate enough, you're currently at a conference, and I guarantee you 9 out of the 10 talks will be about traffic and be about scaling media. It's all about the latest TikTok shop, Meta, how can we scale? Not many people are talking about, well, how can we actually just make that margin up by turning more clicks into customers? And if you can increase your revenue per visitor, you can actually add more bottom line and more profit into your business than any other type of marketing activity. So that's why I think CRO is so important. And that's why I think people understand that in Q1, it's probably the best time to, start doing that experimentation, building on the framework, so that when you come into these busy periods of Q3, Q4, you're making the most of it and really making incremental, uplifts.
First of all, I got to say, I love the energy that you have about CRO. You can tell that you really love the game, that you love the science, the tinkering, and it's just very refreshing. So I appreciate you you bringing that energy here, man. One of the things, I want to really quickly kind of shift to the CRO prioritization, and I want to start with something that might be a trip down memory lane for you. So you said 12 years ago, you were in the affiliate space. And now, you're hardcore CRO. What are some of the principles that were true in the affiliate world that you've carried through into the work that you do day in, day out now?
Yeah, really cool question. I think a lot of it comes into the basics of human psychology, the basics of usability. There are, I'm going to, on record, I've said this many times, there are definitely best practices when it comes to CRO and conversion rates, 100%. I would challenge anyone that I could build a landing page that would out-convert a nice looking landing page if it had the best practices instilled in it and used frameworks around things like trust, credibility, social proof, etc. But you will never go wrong with a data-backed decision. So I think it's marrying the two. It's heuristics, UX, UI backed with the data, that where you get the most informed decisions to test. But it's those fundamental human psychologies that remain 12 years ago as they do now. So like you said, things like trust and credibility, I think even more so that's so important, because you and I could probably do and could go onto Amazon right now, spend 500 quid and not think twice about clicking buy now. We wouldn't give a shit. We wouldn't be doubting, is it going to be shipped? When's it going to get to me? Can I trust it? Are they going to take my money? Is the product going to be good? If the product arrives and it's not good, am I going to be able to send it back and get my money back? We wouldn't think twice. It's just on repeat. So we have to remember, as a brand, we are constantly competing with Amazon. That's our biggest competitor in any form. So, how have they done that? Well, it's all through leveraging trust and credibility. They're so well established and their principles are so high that we don't think twice. But you have to get that across as a brand. So how do you do it? I mean, using things like trust policy bars that we kind of con the term. It sits just below your navigation, very easy to do in Replo. It's a simple bar that sits just below your navigation, and you put 3 or 4 icons and bits of text. And what these things are things that make you, to a cold consumer, trusted as a brand. So it's things like established in 2012. It's served over 1,000 happy customers. It's we offer satisfaction guarantee. It's made and manufactured in the US. Whatever makes you as a brand authoritative and trusted is something that you need to showcase to consumers very, very quickly. Same goes for social proof. Social proof is the same as it was 12 years as it is now. Back 12 years ago in the affiliate space, we could get away with a little more fake social proof and maybe, shall I say, kind of a bit more black hat social proof. But these days, things like reviews are just equally as important. Using testimonials to handle objections. Again, that's another one. Objection handling. FAQs on your pages are crucial. People had objections 12 years ago. They still have objections now. Usability and UI has become so advanced. People are using so many different devices, browsers, browser versions, desktop, tablet, mobile first. All of these things were back then 12 years ago. They're just more advanced, and I think they're more important because us as a society are so much more programmed to buying online. Back then, we had to think really hard about we have to have these massive, shiny, flashy buttons because otherwise no one's going to see them or see that they can buy online. We have to have these big payment seals so that we can showcase that we accept all the merchant processes that these people use. We have to use massive fonts. We have to capture attention. We have to walk people through. Now it's different. Everyone knows how to buy online. It's all based on intent, and it's based around how accessible and easy your site is to get a purchase and how you pre-educate them on the benefit of that purchase.
This is going to be so much fun. I'm already thinking about all the different ways this is going to get clipped. I want to go into, you mentioned, okay, you can use heuristics, you can use some qualitative measures, but then there's also the quantitative. You got to marry those things. And you mentioned revenue per visitor as one of the key metrics that you're looking at. What are some of the other metrics that you look at, and what tools are you using internally to measure all of this performance?
Yeah, great question. So I have to give a shout out to heatmap.com. If you haven't visited it, go check it out. It's run by a friend of mine. I am an angel for Heatmap, but it's a really amazing piece of software.
Dylan's a good dude, man.
Dylan, there you go. Dylan Ander.
He's a fucking great dude.
Obviously very well known in CRA space as well, so shout out to Dylan. The reason we use heatmap.com, also Clarity is a free tool, is very, very good. But the reason we would typically install both or lean towards heatmap.com is because it's the first tracking heat map software that tracks based on revenue as opposed to clicks. So things like Clarity, Hotjar, they're fine. They will tell you what's being clicked, but that's all they'll tell you. They'll say this button is being clicked more than this button here. What heat map will do is it will say this button's being clicked more, but it's actually generating you less revenue. So you don't know that different elements on your page are actually generating you more revenue than the ones that are getting clicked. So it gives you really good insights. As far as metrics that we track, that's the kind of gold mecca of CRO. But what we will do with our clients is we typically do this on a 3-month basis, but we'll sit with them in our kind of audit or a report where we give them their kind of recent results. And we'll discuss with the brand what their North Star is for the next quarter. Because let's say, for example, a subscription brand, they might not care about their standard checkout conversion rate. What they care about is we want more people on subscription. So that's a different kind of metric for us to track. So we'll kind of go around between, subscription. We often will look at things like profit per annum within the business. We'll also look at things like, bounce rate on cart, checkout rate, product page to checkout, it all depends on. The first thing we do as a CRO agency when we sign up with a brand is we do an intensive audit. So we'll spend 3 to 4 weeks marrying qualitative and quantitative research to come up with a roadmap and find bottlenecks within your store based on heuristic and analytical data. And we'll then come up with this roadmap saying, we think your biggest problem at the moment is pre-educating the customer, or we'll say we think your biggest problem is you've got a huge drop off from collection to checkout, and then we'll kind of hypothesize and come up with test ideas and experimentation ideas based on those findings. So revenue per session and revenue per visitor, whatever you call it, is what I always default to, because I think we became fixated with conversion rate. Everything was about conversion rate, but we all know we can dramatically increase your conversion rate. You just make the product free. So, it's a skewed metric. What you really want to be tracking is how much money you're making per visitor. And that's a blend between conversion rate and average order value. And that's what we will track. But now, we're even looking in some brands of like lifetime value, especially if, as I say, if they're subscription customers. So it all depends on the business, but RPV is pretty much the kind of North Star.
Let's kind of role play a little bit here and say I'm a brand. I sell apparel, and this is my very first Black Friday. I've never done one of these before. I started to grow this business. We're doing a couple 100,000 in revenue so far this year. How do you approach a brand that's fresh for this? They have no historical data relative to. Obviously, everything you just discussed. It's very easy to look at historical data pretty extensively. But if this is your first go at e-com Super Bowl, what do you prioritize here in this instance, if it's any different?
Yeah. No, it's a really, really valuable question. I think that comes down to the basics, kind of what we've been through as far as communicating discounts, selecting what discount you're going to do site-wide versus product versus collection, and then kind of communicating that using scarcity and urgency as we've kind of gone through. And then I think you can definitely look at. You've got to be really careful when you're looking at competitors, because to assume that what works for competitive brands is going to work for you is idiocracy. It's not the case. It doesn't always work, but you can definitely take learnings from competitors. Have a look at what they did last year versus this year. Are they doing exactly the same? Well, chances are if they are, it works for them. It should work for you. But this is where I would be. It's time in the game, right? It's the same with anything. You learn and you iterate for the next time. So, do your best now. But also don't forget that Black Friday is not just about the sale, it's about post-sale. So it's all about what we do with our clients is we'll then do a post-sale analysis. We'll look at what mistakes we made, what we could do better next year, what were the findings, what were the learnings. But I would, even if you've got 6 months of data, I would still look into that data and have a look at what products are frequently bought together. That's a really big one. So have a look, if you're multi-SKU, what products are frequently bought together? Can we bundle them and offer a discount for a bundle to increase our AOV through email, for example? So, if 3 products are often bought together, we know that they're our most popular bundle without having a bundle page. Well, it's a fucking no-brainer. It's probably going to work if you then create a bundle page, bundle them up, pre-sell the audience, give them a fucking really great offer, make it an irresistible offer with a great discount, and funnel people through. So I think data, however much you've got, is always going to be crucial here. But I would just look at this as a bit of a badge, a badge of honor. It's your first one. Go get in the trenches, go through it, analyze it, and then next year you'll be even better and you iterate and you go again.
I love it. We've spent a lot of time talking about what to do. And I'm curious to hear, and you've been in the trenches enough, you've seen people make mistakes over and over again. What are some of those common mistakes? What should people avoid doing? What are the common traps?
Yeah, I think just going back to that competitor point, I think it's important to look elsewhere, but it's important to focus on you and your brand. No two brands are alike, no two demographics are alike. I think one major, not issue, but one major mistake a lot of brands make is thinking too broad. I'll give you an example. So let's say you're a weight loss supplement, okay? You are probably going up against, I don't know the numbers, but you're probably going up against 100,000 other weight loss supplements who are advertising on Meta, okay? And my advice there is this is where you need to differentiate yourself based on your demographic. You are not AG1. You are not going to compete with AG1. AG1 are the category king. They are the market fit. They can sell to anyone. They sell to everyone. because they were the first, they were the biggest, they were the category king within that space. The way you can make your mark within that same market is by pivoting. So becoming, the blue ocean theory, calling out your demographic. So if you, again, data tells, but if you can see that not because it was your idea of what you wanted your product to be, you wanted your product to sell to everyone, but from your data, you can see that you sell to females between the age of 30 and 40. Call it out. That's going to give you a competitive edge. If you imagine 1,000 weight loss products selling on Meta and all of them are saying, we help you lose weight and feel better. Now, all of a sudden, if your ad and your landing page and your site can say, we help women in their 30 to 40s lose weight and feel better, all of a sudden you're in your own ocean. So I think one mistake that a lot of brands do is they kind of think too big, and that's not a criticism, but they think too broad and think they can compete with like AG1, where really they're going to make way more money if they actually just niche down and focus on their audience. So that's one thing. I think another thing is, again, relying on guesswork. I hate to be repetitive. There are best practices. There are frameworks. We kind of even have a course or a membership, our academy, where we kind of take people through based on our kind of frameworks that are used now by millions of people online. But I think you can get a little bit relaxed relying on kind of best practices, and without surveying your audience, without looking into analytics, you're really leaving money on the table. So one thing that I'm amazed at, even now, speaking to brands who are doing, let's say, 50 million in annual revenue, that they don't have post-purchase surveys or exit intent surveys set up. So your post-purchase survey, super simple to set up. We use a software called Knowcommerce, K-N-O Commerce, great company. I think it starts at like $99 per month. But all you do is you set up a post-purchase survey. And I have people come to me at dinners and they're like, yeah, but isn't that going to piss off the customer? It really doesn't. And you'll be amazed at how many people fill it in. They go to checkout, they purchase the product. On the confirmation step, it says, thank you so much for purchasing. Would you just take 2 minutes to fill in the survey so we can make the experience better next time? Ask them several questions that are product specific, but the most important 2 questions you can ask them is 1, why did you purchase today? Really cool. 2, more importantly, why did you almost not purchase today? Or what stopped you from almost purchasing today? Because that question is going to give you so much arsenal that you can use on your experimentation. It's going to give you friction points, objections. Oh, I didn't realize you delivered to my area. Oh, I didn't know how long it took to take results. Oh, I didn't know if you charged for shipping. Oh, I just couldn't find the page. Oh, I had a really bad experience from cart to checkout. All of these things you'll find repeat. A lot of people will be saying the same stuff, and you can then go handle that on the front end. So not having post-purchase surveys or serving your audience is a conversion killer. Exit intents as well. I was on a call with a very, I'm not going to name them, but a very large e-com brand the other day, and they were asking about their exit intent survey, and they were saying, oh yeah, we set up this exit intent survey and it doesn't work. And I was like, well, what do you mean it doesn't work? And it was like, well, no one really comes back and buys the product. And I'm like, that's not the point of an exit intent survey. The exit intent survey is to serve as a survey that understands why people are leaving, not how to get them back. It's to understand why they're leaving, so that when a new person comes, not that person, but when a new person comes, humans are very similar. You and me visit a site, we probably have the same questions and same objections in our heads. If you can exit intent survey people and find those objections, it's not about getting that person back, it's about answering that objection or friction point the next time that same person, it's not the exact same person, but that same demographic comes to your site, and you're going to convert more people. So I think a big conversion killer is not focusing on surveying, asking your users. User testing is another huge one. So actually getting people to go on your site. How many people are watching this podcast right now own an e-com brand or sell a product through drop shipping but haven't actually purchased their own product through the site? First thing you should do is go and do it, or get like 10 of your family to go and do it. You can refund them after, and just find commonalities. What are they struggling with? How is that user buying experience? Is there bugs? Is there bottlenecks? Is there things that aren't user friendly? Is there things that aren't clear? Have I got questions that I haven't got answered? All of these things you can then handle on the front end. Revenue per session goes up, conversion rate goes up, and you can buy me a beer next time you see me.
Yeah, that's fantastic, dude. I will say, just anecdotally, a couple years ago, I was running a soap company, and we were moving from WooCommerce to Shopify. And before we actually fully launched the Shopify store, I just put out on Twitter. I was like, yo, like, can people go click through this? Like, I'll refund you the order. You can keep the soap that we send you. And I got probably, oh my gosh, 20, 30 people to fill that out for me. And so we I got that job on like January 8th of 2020. And then we didn't launch the Shopify site until February 19th. You can tell this is like very visceral information. I know the exact dates. In between that time, like taking that information, like all these people from I mean, there were obviously a lot of people that were aware of e-commerce, so they were like kind of tuned to finding certain things, but that is like super helpful. It's not just, it doesn't have to be just
great exercise. Yeah, it's a great question. Yeah, I'm sorry, great way to do it. Just put it out on Twitter, right? Like the e-com world is so friendly on Twitter. I think it's a great exercise for people to do. That
transformed. Like, I mean, I thought I had like a pretty good setup, and again, like following the best practices, the frameworks that we have. But there were small tweaks, like, okay, here's like I need to like restructure the collection page this way. Or, you know, being able to add to cart directly from a collection page, which wasn't something that I had enabled on the first go. Like, especially when you have like a larger catalog, the little things that you don't always, you think you've tested, but you don't fully know. And honestly, when we did launch the Shopify site, we started running ads, and obviously we had COVID come in, so great time to sell soap. But that made a huge change in the business for functionally a week's worth of work. Yeah, highly recommend.
And for sending out like 10 free bars of soap, right? It's amazing.
Yeah, soap was cheap to make. It was really easy to, you know. We lost some money on the shipping, but you know, oh well, made it up because
you'd pay that money, right? You pay that money all day, every day to get the findings.
Exactly. And like the exit intent story that you're talking about, like sometimes I think operators get in this like scarcity mindset of like, oh, like I'm not going to get another customer, or like I need to get this specific human being to come back. It's like there's other people.
They will have common traits, like, right? Yeah.
Unless you're doing like, you know, $1 billion a year, and even then, like you're really not hitting any sort of saturation. So don't worry about like losing that one person. If you improve it over time, they're going to come back if your stuff is that good. So last thing I'll say about just to kind of like recap some of the things you said, post-purchase surveys, fun little anecdote. We're really close to the No team. Big fan of Ecommerce. There are other really great post-purchase surveys. Like I know Fairing's another really good one. But No has been, you know, top of mind for a lot of brands lately. And they posted, I think Jeremiah said something about a survey that had like 43 questions. And my initial gut reaction was like, who is the person?
I would think that, yeah.
And they had some crazy, I think it was like 50 to 75% like completion of that 43
rate.
questions.
That's amazing.
And that's insane. But that kind of, again, it's a frame break. You think, oh, they're not going to answer one or two questions. There are people answering 43 questions.
43, yeah.
So it's okay to ask those questions, and you absolutely should be doing it. All right, so you said you were going to like switch lanes a little bit. Like, where are we going next?
It's only one other big mistake we often see, and this is typically for brands doing volume. So one big thing that I think a big mistake is that they're doing like, let's say over 100,000 sessions per month, and all of a sudden they want to rebrand. So they want to completely update their website. And two things that happen here. One, it takes way longer than you planned and costs you way more money. Trust me, I know for the last 12 years I run a landing page agency, building websites, Shopify stores, etc. That's problem one. Problem two is when you launch that site, typically 9 times out of 10 your conversion rates will tank. And the reason is, especially if you're a consumable product or you have a lot of repeat purchase, is, can you imagine, right? This is an anecdote that I kind of play on this whole scenario, right? We love shopping at Zara. So clothing, we buy clothing from Zara. We've got our favorite store in our local town that we go into. We just know where the t-shirts are. We kind of go into the shop, we turn left, they're right there. We can pick them, we can be in and out. We know we can just quickly check out at the cashier with our favorite credit card, really easy, bang, and we're straight out the door and we're on to the next thing. We might pick something else up if we're there and it looks good, right? All of a sudden, we walk into that shop and it's completely changed. Like the layout's changed, the personnel has changed. I can no longer pay quickly on my card. I don't know where the checkout is within the building. So first and foremost, I have to go and find my favorite t-shirt. Then I have to walk around to try and find the checkout, and by this point I'm getting pissed off and frustrated. When I've then found the checkout, it's a different person on the checkout and looks completely different. She's not my favorite person I'm used to interacting with. The card machine's different. I don't know where to put my card. The bags are different. I'm then walking out. Where's the fucking exit? Like the exit's changed. Like what is going on here? And this is typically what happens when you do this online. You've got a business that's generating good revenue, and you completely change everything because you think you need to keep up with brand, or you think you need this new design, And what happens is your current audience gets completely frustrated. They don't know where to go. They don't know where to buy their products again. They don't know how to check out. That you introduce a new step or a new feature, because your checkout looks a bit more funky. And 9 times out of 10, we see this mistake happen so many times. It takes too long, costs too much money, and your conversion rates tank. The way to do it is to iterate to a new design based on CRO, so based on experimentation. So you might want to change or update your brand, but let's test it. Let's test isolated tests. So let's do your homepage first and foremost. Let's use your new brand guideline, style guideline, but let's test it until it generates you more revenue per visitor. Then we'll move on to the product page. But do it on understandings and findings. Don't just do it overnight and completely change it, because again, I've seen it time and time again, money will be lost.
I love that you use Zara, because I shop at Zara. Half of my closet is Zara. Actually, probably like 85% of my closet. There you go. I was trying to figure out what
it fits, it works, it's cheap, and there we go.
Look good. I can wear it pretty much anywhere.
Yeah, exactly. And if you get a stain on it, you just buy a new one.
Exactly. It's funny that you used that analogy, because I would go in Dallas. There are 2 malls that have Zara in them, and I would go to one, and one day they had changed everything. They literally flipped the store. Like everything, the pants were on one side, now it's on the other side. Yeah. And I stopped going to that Zara to go to a different Zara, because I just knew they were going to be consistent, and it's a huge thing. It's the cognitive load. Like there's a really great, I think, anecdote from Ford, where the CMO of Ford was walking through his office and he saw this ad over and over again. He saw it for 3 months, and he tells his team, when are we going to stop running this ad? And the team's like, well, we haven't actually even run it yet. And so what you are used to seeing your own site all the time. You're looking at it probably more than most people. But for most people, really, they're seeing it for the first, second, maybe third time. Yeah. So being able to build a pattern, being able to build a level of comfortability in navigating your experience is so key. And I think the iterate your way to a new design. That's a bar. There you go. I need to kind of put that on the Replo website somewhere.
I love that. Yeah, my mentor taught me that to iterate to success in business, in CRO and everything. So yeah,
and that's so true in the affiliate space too. Because I know I bought a course from Purple Knowledge Lab. I don't know if you're familiar with those guys, James Van Elswick and I know.
Yeah, I know James. Yeah.
So it was some super this few years ago now, and they were talking about A/B testing advertorials, and just the intensity with which they would test these advertorials, and the small changes, one little headline tweak, little copy change on the headline.
I guarantee they're probably using VWO, so multivariate testing. So we used to work with Tim Bird. I don't know if you know Tim, but Tim was our first ever client, and we did so much stuff with Tim, and they were using similar advertorials, doing VWO testing, multivariate, and it's so true. Just the headline or the image on top of the page. Shout out to Nick, he's a good guy.
I'm of the mind that the people that have spent a significant amount of time in affiliate end up becoming some of the best marketers, because affiliate is so hard and so competitive.
It's brutal. Yeah, exactly. Totally agree.
Any war stories?
Really good media buyers. Plenty. Yeah. I wasn't the biggest affiliate per se. So my background in affiliate marketing was CPA. It was CPA marketing and affiliate marketing. But I actually then founded an affiliate community, which grew to be the biggest affiliate community online, which I sold back in 2017 to Neil Patel, which was really cool.
Oh, it's amazing.
But my kind of story was I was still an affiliate, but I was more running the affiliate community and kind of networking and putting people together, doing kind of meetups online, offline, and built this massive hub that, like I say, is now the biggest community online, which is really cool.
That's fantastic, man. All right, so we've covered so many things today. We've talked about, how you should prep for Black Friday, Cyber Monday, the tools, how you look at data. I'm kind of curious to know so you also mentioned Q1 and Q3 being the busiest. Q3 being the busiest because you're getting ready for Q4. Q1 being able to test a lot of these things without the kind of added pressure of we need to maximize. This is the biggest season of the year. Yeah. What changes in your approach, if anything, during the rest of the year? What's the evergreen strategy relative to maybe a holiday specific strategy?
Yeah, I think when it comes to CRO, the way we kind of deal with clients is when they sign up with us, that first month, as I kind of mentioned, is very labor intensive on data. So we always non-negotiable. We will spend 3-4 weeks in the trenches understanding your site front and back end, so qualitative, quantitative. That then allows us to build a roadmap for kind of typically like the next 2 to 3 months worth of testing, regardless of where you are in your year. Obviously, if you're coming on in November, we just do a bit of a site freeze when it comes to testing on your site during your Cyber Monday site sales, and we'll kind of just support you within the sales and do the audit. But otherwise, it kind of gives us 2-3 months ramp of testing, and then that's when we will kind of go back to having like quarterly meets. We do weekly reports, monthly reporting, but we have quarterly meets where we discuss your specific goals for the next quarter. As I said, that might be increasing subscriptions, that might be increasing the AOV, that might be reducing back cart abandonment rates, it might be just revenue increase across the whole site. It depends per brand. And then we'll almost go back into audit mode where we won't do a full kind of 3-week audit, we won't, but we might do a 3-day audit where we kind of re-look at surveys, do data mining, review mining, survey mining, look at again what competitors are doing, and then we'll come up with like a new roadmap for the next kind of 2 to 3 months based on your goal. So it's a constant iterative process. We're constantly looking at like what's next. But we're not your typical CRO agency. Most CRO agencies are fixated by A/B testing. We're very different because we were originally called landing page guys. So we've actually designed more landing pages, I believe, than anyone on the planet. A statement I'll stick by until someone tells me different.
The Replo data shows this, by the way. Like I know back when you guys were landing page guys, and now like I know how many accounts you guys are in, and I know how many pages you guys have built. So at least with what I'm looking at, you guys, you can definitely back that up.
Yeah. So yeah, we use Replo internally. Shout out to Replo, great bit of kit. But we will be very consultative based on what we think will move the needle within CRO. So CRO is way more than A/B testing. That might be price testing, offer testing, building out direct response sales pages on Replo, building out pre-sales, so listicle, quizzes, editorials, advertorials, surveying, survey funnels. It's so much more than just, this button in red is going to convert better than this button in green. So it's just a constant process of looking at the brand, where it is, what your goals are, and then coming up with a strategy backed by CRO.
Really quickly on the button color, red versus green, that is like the funniest thing that anytime I have a conversation about CRO that comes up, and I'm almost confident it's some like random cited test that Amazon ran once long ago and it made a big difference to them, but it's fucking Amazon. Like, it's not your business.
For years I was playing the whole like, if you don't know, just pick Amazon Orange.
Yeah, there you go. I mean, it's a pattern, right?
It works.
People understand.
Exactly, that's why it works. Yeah.
I know we're coming on time. I've got just one other question, and then I want to give you a chance to kind of like plug everything that you do. But you mentioned the quarterly meets. You're doing weekly reports. You're doing monthly reports. But the quarterly meets, you're thinking about the business on a much larger time scale than the average CRO agency, and definitely like much longer than like the average brand operator. And part of like the time frame thing is, and especially like as it comes to testing, is this idea of like having a statistically significant test. How do you think about that? Like, how do you think about being stat sig, or when you can confidently say this is a winner?
Yeah, again, it's case by case based on volume of data, but you can kind of almost give best practices. So typically, as a rule of thumb, we will always run a test for a minimum of 2 weeks. We see that because we want it to run on 2 Mondays, 2 Tuesdays, 2 Wednesdays. We don't want any external factors affecting the results of the test. I'll give you an example. If your competitor on any given Tuesday suddenly has a sale, your sales may go down if you're on both lists. If Trump almost gets assassinated and no one's online, or more people online, like external news factors can affect a test, for example. So there's several external factors that can affect a test, hence why you want to run it on like 2. And I think typically 2 weeks of data will give you enough if you're doing enough volume for your site to, we call it like get powered, so become statistical significant. So we personally at the moment use convert.com, and they not only do we do pre-test analysis, so we use CXL's pre-test analysis calculator, which will, based on your volume of data, the test you want to test, the results you want to get, it will basically tell you how long you need to run a test for in a perfect world. We'll use that married with the 2-week factor, married with getting powered and stack sig, and also converts reporting to kind of come to a happy medium. There's never ever a perfect day or week or time period to cut a test off, but you'll know pretty quickly if it's a winning or losing test. And I'm the first person to say more tests lose than win, but it's the understandings and the findings that you get from those losing tests to roll them into future tests that kind of will make us a better agency than the next person. And also I just think it's really important to let your test get powered. We've seen it so often where we come into a brand and we have access to their old CRO agency's work, and just to give them wins, they've cut tests off short to be like, hey, it's a winner, we made you X amount of revenue. And it's not fair, because if that test would have run a couple more days, it probably would have backed out as a losing test. So you have to be very careful. One other thing to be careful on when it comes to proving statistical significance is filtering. One reason we use convert.com is they can filter down to device. So we've had tests before where desktop is a losing test, but mobile is way up in a winning test. So you don't want a blended result. You want to be able to filter down to the device and specifics, because sometimes we'll just implement a mobile test or a desktop test or a tablet test because it wins, but the other versions will lose. So you have to go deep into the data.
Incredible. Oliver, this has been, I've had so much fun. I've taken
Likewise.
3 pages of notes here. I just love you're passionate about this. I love how much you care about the game. And I think the world is better with people like you in it. So thank you so much for coming on and giving us so much game. Where can people find you? How can people work with you, man?
Yeah, firstly, shout right back out to you, because I felt the questions you asked are really insightful and really useful for your audience. I do a lot of these interviews, and often those questions are quite generic, and I think it's really refreshing to get quizzed a bit, and I enjoyed it. So thank you very much. Really appreciate your kind words. First and foremost, shout out to Replo as well. Really great page builder. Make sure you're kind of using it for ease of implementation. It's definitely one of the best out there for sure. If you want to see what we do, follow us on X. So X is Oliver Kenyon. LinkedIn's Oliver Kenyon. I give out loads of free actionable insights, lots of kind of content like this. But if you want to work with my agency, 12 years experience, got a really amazing team, and we'll do our best to get you incredible results. You can check us out at conversionwise.com. And thank you again for having me. I've really enjoyed it. Of course.
I will personally vouch for the quality and the volume of work that you do. You guys are always on it. You've been one of our best agency partners of all time, if not the best. And I'm very grateful to be connected with you and to have you in our community as well. So thank you so much for coming on, sharing the game. And I'm excited to see what you continue to do for folks, because this has been awesome, man. Thank you so much.
Thank you.